So close your eyes for a moment and just sit. And let your own breath become intertwined with the breeze around you. Almost as if the earth is breathing, inhaling and exhaling with you. Bring your hands to heart center. And we'll just start with one Om. So take a deep inhale. I am one of the founding members of a kind of esoteric group that we call the YogaSlackers. The YogaSlackers are a small group of kind of adventure athletes, yogis that are exploring the limits of human potential in a lot of different ways. And not just on the physical level, but also on the spiritual and emotional level. It was really during a yoga intensive out in Estes Park, and my friends Sam and Paul and I were there doing a ton of yoga every day. And then we'd set up something called a slackline, which is essentially kind of a dynamic tightrope.
And it was, slackline yoga came out just as a release from that. We're like, let's do something a little more playful. Like, we're not being in perfect alignment, we're moving around a lot.
And pretty much started simply seeing if we could do a warrior pose on the line, and then seeing if we could do tree pose, and then maybe another standing balance.
And then eventually, you know, just basic yoga poses become pretty simple on the line. You do them so many times, so then we just start building on that. And so to get back to that space where everything disappears, we have to up the level of the poses a little bit.
So we would do one pose, and instead of just stepping off the line and doing the next one, we'd try to flow. And it became this really radical form of practice that within 10 minutes felt like we had been practicing on the ground for an hour and a half.
It's like a moving meditation where you're just pouring all of yourself into these actions, and just a way to slow everything down, slow the mind down, and just be where you are right now.
When you get in the zone, it's basically the fastest way I've ever had to kind of that bliss state that they call samadhi, where everything disappears. And within that is kind of the first time we made the connection between taking yoga outside of the kind of tradition of being on a mat, being really still, having a place for practice, and we started practicing everywhere. We started turning our outdoor adventures, you know, rock climbing, trail running, mountaineering, slacklining into yoga practices. And for us, that awareness became the awareness of the outdoors, the awareness of the environment, the awareness of the connection that we have as a species with each other, and the connection that we have with the species with all the other creatures, all the other elements on the earth.
As the YogaSlackers, we've sort of been doing a lot of alternative forms, more playful yoga, I'd like to say. So we started with partner yoga and a bit of general acrobatics.
And acrobatics and yoga are so similar to each other, and really all acro yoga is taking the idea of acrobatics and adding yoga poses to it. So the simplest form of partner acrobatics is what we call stacking, where two people are doing the same pose stacked on top of each other. And then the flyers are going to come up and connect hands, so they're leaning with each other.
With normal yoga, it's all about what's going on in your body. But once you start practicing with another person, it's not all about you, it's about the other person too, and where you guys can work.
And now the bases start to shift their hips back, and they join one hand and then the other and reach up into the same position. I could be the best practitioner in the world, and if that person can't do something, or if I push them too far or I drop them, we can't create anything beautiful. So I have to really be sensitive to their energy, they have to be sensitive to my energy, and we have to communicate.
Finding a level where you guys are at the same place, because even if I'm super flexible and my partner isn't, well, I can't do as high acrobatics, so we sort of have to meet somewhere in the middle.
You know, you've got somebody on your feet or balancing on your hands, or you're balancing on somebody else's feet, so it really becomes a release of ego.
The difference between doing acro with someone who you trust and who you've built kind of a partnership with is that In that relationship, both of you can extend into a realm where you're being very experimental and you're really out there, not quite sure if it's going to work out or not, doing a pose that is quite challenging, but you know how this person moves and you know that you can trust them to do the poses that you've done together for a long time. And you really start to build a deep friendship and a deep trust with them. For me, it can be very graceful and very beautiful, but it can bring up a lot of your fears at the same time.
It's kind of like one of the acro yoga founders, you know, he has a metaphor that trust is like a bank account, you know, you can withdraw more. So the higher level stuff, you know, that's like a big withdrawal. So you have to have that trust built up.
Whereas working with someone that you've just met, it's such a great way to connect with someone and to really share a bit of laughter with each other and share a bit of joy.
Grab that ankle with this hand. Yep. Okay, now stay like you are. Teaching, I think, is the #1 priority in what we do. I mean, doing what we're doing, I guess, today here in Joshua Tree, I mean, just bringing a group of people into the outdoors and sharing what we love most about life with them, and hopefully inspiring them to, you know, change some things in their lives.
And that's kind of what I try to do, is just when I get a chance, is to make an impact just by showing people that there are different ways to live, different ways to experience. And you should always be able to find a way to feel fulfilled in your life.
To see that kind of sparkle that you get out of someone when you first show them acro, you know, you say, do you want to fly? The first time you ask someone that question, they're a bit confused, but I've never seen someone walk away and not be happy about the experience.
If you find the secret to life and you hold it here, it doesn't really do you any good, or anyone else any good.